straighten the camera. If I straightened it, yeah, okay. So, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you like the content. Your support means a lot. So, thank you to everyone that supports me and has supported me and will support me. Now, this is a super interesting video, unlike any video on YouTube or anywhere else. You will not get to understand deep concepts like colors and planetary interactions and foundations of planets and how other planets provide foundations for other planets to enact their drama on. Okay, so let us understand one thing to begin with. We take Mars. Mars is Mangal. His day is Tuesday, and his metal is gold. Okay, now his color is red. We know everything to do with Mars is red, right? Bright red. Okay, now Jupiter's color is golden in Vedic astrology. Golden like the hues of the sun rays. Okay, golden. And the metal, basically gold, which is again ruled by Jupiter, is the foundation, okay, of the solar expression. So Jupiter provides expression of the sun. Okay. Now remember one thing before we get into more discussion on this topic. Metals are the foundation that give rise to colors in the manifested world. However, before metals were ever even formed, colors give rise to metals. Because colors from the planetary rays, like how when you look through a prism, you see the seven colors of Vidyur, and you realize that how everything is actually an emanation of these seven colors. Okay? Primary colors, secondary colors, additive colors, subtractive colors, and all of that. So, in our manifested reality, metals, I don't know what stream, I think I lost you there for a bit. So, in the 3D, continuing the discussion, in the 3D world of manifestation, it is metals that provide the foundations for the colors to arise. So metals give rise to colors. But previously, colors had birthed metals. Okay? Now remember that Jupiter must provide the foundation for Mars. Metal being gold and Jupiter's color being golden. So Jupiter must provide the foundation for Mars. Although interestingly, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer where Mars is in fall. The Jupiter and Mars are traditionally friendly planets. Okay. Jupiter's other metal is silver. Okay. Mars is gold, I told you. But color of Jupiter is golden, right? And this is so interesting. Jupiter's color being golden, but his metal being silver. That means, you know, gold and silver are the basis of currency, the basis of how we trade, how we make wealth, expansion, for instance. So we see how Jupiter always supports expansion. Right now, a moon's metal is gems in Vedic astrology. All the gems fall under moon. So all of this, I'm wearing this round across side moon. Okay, although this is very good for fixed signs, by the way, round across side. It's a chonky one that I wear. Now, moon's metal is gems, but color is milky white, as I'm wearing today on the day of the moon. Color is milky white. So immediately you understand that the moon must support Jupiter. Okay, the moon must support Jupiter. This is also exemplified in the case that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, the domicile of the moon. Okay, now moon is neutral to Jupiter actually in Vedic astrology. They are not super good friends, so they are not frenemies or enemies. They're just neutral to one another. However, of course, there's a deeper layer of meaning here because of that Jupiter's exaltation. right? Now, Venus's metal is diamond, right? And color is shiny white or transparent white, right? Moon is milky white, but Venus is that shiny white or the diamondy white, translucent, right? Moon is actually neutral to Venus. Now, again, here we are like, how is that possible? The ancients must have had something in mind because the moon is exalted in the domicile of Venus, right? So that's pretty interesting. Moon is exalted in Taurus. Now, Venus, okay, is also the seven rays. Venus color is also yellow, actually, by the way. Why? Is because when you look at a diamond through the sunlight, and that's again, sun yellow is also Jupiter, golden is Jupiter. Thank you. All right. So when we see that Venus is seven rays and we look through a diamond as a prism and light travels through it, and we can see all the seven rays, seven colors of the rainbow. Venus is also yellow and sky blue. Now I said Venus embodies all the seven colors. All right. Now we come to sun. The sun is copper red. Okay, copper red, and the sun's metal is copper. So in this case, we actually see that copper red and copper actually look pretty similar. Metal and color are, kind of similar. Mercury is green, right? And the metal is brass. Okay. Now, Mercury stands between Venus and Saturn. Saturn brings us all these planetary rays. He's extremely friendly to Mercury, by the way. Okay, and he's also friendly to Venus because he's exalted in that Venusian sign of Libra. Now, when you look at that Mercury, Saturn, as I said, is black, bluish black. Okay. Now, Saturn is the bringer of all forms. Okay, all ideas that are just there in the etheric world. But it's Venus's task to manifest them, to play them out. All right. So remember that Saturn is black. What does black denote to you? Absence of light, right? In fact, a color is the way we perceive a color is because that color is not that color. It's very interesting how the color spectrum works, is rejecting that color because that's why we tend to see that color. So deep blue is also Saturn. Deep blue, like the rain clouds, is Saturn. Okay. Now green is between yellow and blue. Yellow, I told you, is Venus. Jupiter's golden. Blue is Saturn. Dark blue. And green is in between them. This is how I explained to you. Mercury is in between them. Saturn brings all of this information from the fixed stars. Mercury, cogitate, thinking, strategizing, and Venus putting it out there through beauty, through dance, through interaction, through love making, through sensuality, through eroticism. Venus is giving it out there. Even food can be erotic, the way it can, titillate our senses, right? It can be very Venus is always, about enjoyment and pleasure, right? Now, green, however, which is the color of Mercury, his metal is brass, right? Green is the color of Gemini. And what does it signify? Hope, right? Hope in youth, all right? Please don't ask such silly questions here. Please stick to the topic, okay? I've told many times what I am. This is not the topic. So, like I said, that green is hope, youth. Now, what else is green? The trees are green. So, they produce chlorophyll by using the sunlight. The sun's metal is copper. Color is reddish copper. Okay? Copper red color is like, copper red color. burnt out red, right? So what do we see? Mercury's chlorophyll, green. Now, what is brass? That is the metal of mercury. Brass is actually copper and zinc. Copper is the sun, right? And you add a bit of zinc in it, and you make mercury. I mean, you make brass, which is a metal of mercury. Sun is obviously, in that sense, less refined to operate in 3D like Mercury is. Mercury is quickly strategizing, analyzing, thinking, solving problems, going out there, going here, developing new plans. The sun is not so quick with movement, right? So we can see that there is copper, there's zinc added to that copper of the sun. So Mercury has an added zinc, which is zinc. That was actually quite funny though. Now Mercury is more refined for worldly success. Okay, it is geared towards worldly success more than the sun. Just by understanding how the metals and colors operate, you will be able to understand what planets are giving you what kind of energy at what particular time, right? So, now when you think about brass, brass is also like bronze. You've heard of bronze, brass and bronze, and they are great conductors. Great conductors of what? Electricity. After all, everything is electrical. A thought in our brain is neurons firing and producing electricity. We are bioelectric or organisms, okay? So that's quite funny. I did not say orgasm, I was saying organisms, right? So that goes great conductors, brass, bronze, great conductors, okay? Now, Saturn, color I told you, black and blue black. Blue black, like the Swedish blue black, okay? And what is Mars? Mars is fire, right? Now, Mars is exalted where? In Saturn ruled Capricorn. Iron. Saturn rules iron. Mars is fire. So, Mars can apply heat to Saturn and can mold Saturn. Okay, this is very interesting. The interplay between the two malefics, right? Understand one thing. Iron, Saturn's metal. Gold, Mars metal. We are not going there right now. Mars element, fire. What will fire do to iron? Yeah, an ironsmith knows how to fashion tools by applying heat to iron. In fact, all these buildings and their foundations all made with iron. That's why we say Saturn is the foundation. But without that heat, can we melt that iron? No, we can't. Now, when you look at Aries, and Saturn is in fourth Aries, and that's the domicile of Mars. So we need to understand that Mars, a well-developed, well-balanced Mars, has in himself the ability to control a malefic Saturn. Okay. Now, Saturn is karma. Clear concept. Karma. Mars is action. You can change karma by the heat of action. If you apply heat, take the right action, you will change your karma. There's no way out of that. So Mars has the power within him, although Mars is young, Saturn is old. So the experience thing plays over there, right? Now, iron, what is iron? Okay, if you mix that iron with carbon, what happens? We get steel. Steel is what? Again, you fashion with Mars and you create things of steel. Steel doesn't degrade like iron does. Iron stinks actually. If it can rust, it can stink. So once you apply that carbon to it, it becomes steel. Steel is way easier to use, way easier to manage than iron, doesn't rust, doesn't stagnate, doesn't stink, right? So, steel again is cheaper than diamonds, right? Although diamonds is something solid as well to make foundation to cut. In fact, a diamond can only be cut with diamond in the olden days. You know, normal tools like iron and all couldn't cut diamond. Now they use laser. Now they have a lot of other technology. But Venus could not be cut by iron, and iron is Saturn. So this things to think about, right? Very exciting. And of course, steel is cheaper than diamonds, right? And Venus is diamond and Saturn is iron. And iron cannot cut diamond. Uh, Also, what's the commonality with diamond? They are both hard when they need to be. We take Venus as, not a hard planet. Venus is enjoyment, pleasure, making love, looking pretty. But don't for one moment forget that Venus can be super strong, stronger than Saturn too. Especially if that Venus is an operational benefic for you and you balance that Venus. And you get the correct planetary rays from that Venus, okay? Now, another thing worth mentioning is copper is a metal of the sun. So copper was actually more prevalent before iron. We had the copper age and then we had the iron age, right? So what does that tell you? That the sun is actually the father of Saturn. In the myths, we know that when Saturn was born and the sun looked at him, he was eclipsed. So in Vedic astrology, Saturn and Sun are enemy planets. Sun is exalted in Aries, and that Saturn is in fallen Aries, right? Sun is in fallen Libra, whereas Saturn is exalted in Libra. They're enemy planets. Shani Dev, Saturn was the child of Sun and Chaya. Chaya means shadow. Immediately you understand that the significations of Saturn will have to do with shadow work. So always remember, because we had copper before the copper age, before the iron age, Sun is actually the father of Saturn. It's not Saturn's system here, it's solar system. Saturn is the eldest son. Okay, the moon was actually the most primordial, but no, we stick to the story right now. Saturn is the sun. He's on the outskirts. He's looking at the solar system from a different vantage point and he's helping the sun along in running the solar system. Okay, Saturn and Jupiter are actually pretty much both in command at the exterior zone of the solar system. But when we talk about the solar system, we talk about the sun, right? We talk about the sun. The sun is everything here, okay? And Sun and Saturn being enemy planets, this means that if you have that Sun conjunct that Saturn, if you got that Sun in Libra, or if you've got that Sun in Capricorn, not that Sun in Capricorn can do well. Sun in Aquarius can also do well, but these are complicated interactions. You put me in a room with someone I hate, someone who's, not conducive to my energy. So how am I going to be? I'm going to bottle up, right? So this is what happens when that Sun and Saturn share interactions. And of course, there is combustion. For instance, if Saturn is too close to the Sun between 15 degrees, then the Saturn is combust. And it doesn't mean if the Saturn is in a different sign, it is not combust. It is combust. Oh yes, Sun opposite Saturn is very difficult because the conversation that these two are having, it's a polarization. What are oppositions? Polarization, right? I'm in this zone, you are there, and we are arguing. Okay? So one person has to give for the tension to subside, right? I can't say, okay, I'm going to stay to my beliefs and you will stay to your beliefs. There will be no resolution. That's when we need to bring in that Mars. That Mars fire can work on both copper and can work on iron. Even diamond can work on both copper and iron. And you get the right tool. Uh, okay, so that Mars in Capricorn is much stronger than that Sun in Taurus. So, you have to work on that Mars, strengthening that Mars. Does that mean that, you ignore that Saturn or that Sun? No. All planets need to be propitiated, not just planets that are harmful or planets who are good to you. Okay, imagine there's a teacher in your school who teaches you English and you really like her. There's a teacher who teaches you mathematics and you don't like her and you know she doesn't like you. But ultimately, you have to go to the class. Ultimately, you have to learn. Ultimately, you have to give the exam. Otherwise, you get zero in mathematics, right? If you don't go to that class because you fear that teacher or you fear something about that class, you won't pass. So if you've got a difficult planet and you're not going to the class that the planet holds, metaphoric of course, then what will happen? You will fail in that particular examination. So all planets need to be looked at. All planets need to be interacted with because this is a class that they are all taking. So you, the student, the seeker, must learn from them all to be able to complete your graduation. Of course, your graduation is at age 48 when Rahu and Ketu are the last two planets to mature. I'll talk about maturation of planets in a video some other time, you know. And when all the planets are mature, then you've pretty much done your examination, you know. After that, you're ready to restart a new stage in life, if you ask me the truth. Cannot ignore a planet because a planet is an operational malefic for you. I am going to be making Lal Kitab videos very soon. If you don't know what Lal Kitab is, it is a book of astral remedies and how to work with afflicted planets, benefic planets. Lal Kitab is from the Himachal Pradesh and it's an extremely good or esoteric subject that not too many pundits of that exist. I consider myself to know a bit about Lal Kitab. I've been practicing Lal Kitab remedies for over 20 years now. My grandfather was very interested in Lal Kitab. So, even before that, since all of my childhood, I've been into Lal Kitab remedies and understanding how, the Lal Kitab side of the story, which I will get into, but let me complete this video. Now we've understood how Sun is in reality the father of Saturn. Okay, now Jupiter rules silver, color is golden yellow, golden color. Now, silver, what is silver? We make jewelry with silver. Uh, you know, Silver is the best conductor of electricity, better than brass, better than bronze, better than gold. Silver is the best conductor of electricity. Okay. Now, Sun rules what? Copper. I've told you many times Sun rules copper. And Sun or the copper is the second best conductor of electricity. So immediately you realize that Jupiter brings forward a very powerful energy, for haptic energy, fire energy. Rules Sagittarius, right? Now, we've thought of zinc. We've spoken about zinc being added to brass to make it bronze. Okay? Sorry, zinc and copper. You add zinc to copper, and then you get brass. You add brass and zinc, you get bronze, right? Brass is actually quite a good conductor of electricity as well. Okay. Now, red, I told you, is Mars. Bright, bright red. Okay. That scarlet red lip color is Mars. All right. Saturn is blue. Mercury is green, right? These are all what? Additive colors or primary colors, right? That means that these planets, these particularly three planets, Mars, Saturn, Mercury, must work really hard. They are primary energies. Their colors are the primary colors, okay? Uh, they are, of course, together and they work really hard, but they have to be fueled by the sun. Without the sun fueling them, there is no creation. There is no solar system, right? Now, also another thing that you notice when the sun seems to die or is sacrificed, and it's the other end of Libra, and the fall comes, okay, the season of fall or autumn comes, right? Leaves which were green during spring, during monsoon, they were green and they become red, they become yellow, they become orange. In the Western system, Jupiter's color is orange. Red is again Mars. Yellow is again Venus, right? So, green during autumn without the sun's involvement in mercurial matters, things take the shape of Mars. Things, the green becomes red, the green becomes yellow, the green becomes orange. So as the sun moves away from and goes into that fall position, we see that the chlorophyll green has changed colors, right? It's beautiful. Now Mars can supersede Mercury, okay, because after all, green turns to red. However, if you have Mars and Mercury in your natal chart, say a conjunction, and Mars is a operational malefic. Say Mercury is also an operational malefic in your chart. Then who wins the Griha Yuddha, which is a conjunction? Who wins that? Okay, Graha Yuddha, not Griha Yuddha, Graha Yuddha. Graha is planets, Griha is house. I got there. But Graha Yuddha, who wins the planetary war? Whoever is retrograde loses. Okay, whoever is retrograde. If Mars is retrograde, Mercury wins. If Mercury is retrograde, Mars wins. That Graha Yuddha, of planetary warfare. Blood is red. Blood is red. Red is the color of Mars, right? And Mars has hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, okay? Now, if you don't have hemoglobin, you are anemic. What is the main constituent of what constitutes hemoglobin? Iron. We intake iron through folic acid, right? In your iron pills, you need to have iron in your system to function. What is iron? Saturn. So Mars is so intricately connected to that Saturn. The hemoglobin is Saturn in the Mars. Red, the blood. Uh, Very interesting. Iron is there in our blood. Saturn is there in our Mars, in our blood, right? However, in Vedic astrology, Mars and Saturn are enemies. So they're not friendly planets, they're enemies with each other. However, that Mars is exalted in Capricorn, the two malefics, right? Obviously, they're going to be assertive with each other, right? Now, we have to understand because Mars is exalted in that particular place in Capricorn, domicile of Saturn, we have to understand that Saturn provides the foundation for Mars. Blood cannot remain healthy blood without hemoglobin, without iron. Once again, we are there where Saturn is providing the base, the foundation for all our actions. Mars is our actions, right? Sun is copper. I told you the metal is copper, and the color is copper is actually brown, a burnt out kind of red, which ultimately looks brownish, right? The color brown belongs to Ketu or south node, right? And Ketu is brown as soil, brown as tree trunks, right? Now, when we look at brown, we must understand that because Ketu is so closely associated to that coppery brown color, we understand that Sun and Ketu are conducive to each other. They help each other. So South Node conjunct the Sun, in some cases in the natal chart, can be a very powerful placement. Okay, I keep saying powerful for want of a better word because every expression is different. Ketu is a subtracting principle. So if I say powerful in that sense, it doesn't mean you will be a king. You could be a spiritual king, of course, but it gives you strength. That Ketu with that sun. Okay. Now, just in both, okay, the Ketu and the brown color has a close connection to trees, again, sunlight, chlorophyll, right? And both this Mars, okay, and Ketu both actually bring out the solar logos, emphasize the solar logos, okay, because the sun is exalted in Aries. So we immediately know that the sun and the Mars are like, they have a good connection over there. Now, Jupiter is golden, Venus is yellow. Venus is all kinds of crystals, diamond. Moon is also crystals, by the way. Now, when you look at the birthplace of Venus, Venus was born in Pushya Nakshatra, okay? And the deity of Pushya Nakshatra is Jupiter. And Jupiter was born in Purva Falguni, and Purva Falguni deity is Venus. So you immediately know that Jupiter and Venus, the two benefics, okay, are working together. They enhance each other, okay. However, in the Vedic system, they are considered to be enemy planets. Okay, so there's always a sort of, is it too much? Am I doing too much? Jupiter's too much, and Venus is all the five senses. So, am I doing too much? That could be there. Now, imagine staring at yellow light for a really long time. What do you notice? That yellow light actually becomes golden. Goldenish hues emerge from that yellow light. So that is so interesting because we understand by that Venus needs Jupiter quite strongly. Jupiter is what? Jupiter is ether, Vyoma. Okay. Vyoma and Jupiter's color and metal are silver, and silver is very precious. Jupiter's color is actually golden, and his metal is silver. Okay. Now, silver is very precious. It's almost like gold when we commodify it and we trade with it, right? So this way we realize that Jupiter actually helps the sun, okay? Through silver, through enhancing what the sun is trying to do, take souls in and create this simulation so we may grow. So one consciousness, unitary consciousness, can know itself through its very many manifestations. Now, Venus is also diamonds and crystals, okay? And Jupiter provides life, right? So Venus basically, and if you think of all the diamonds and all the crystals, we need silver to put it in. To gird the crystals, we need silver. So again, Jupiter is, acting as a foundation source for Venus. Jupiter provides life, Venus reflects life. Crystals reflect your shadow back at you. So Venus always reflects life. Remember that. And is the pleasure principle. Jupiter is truth, expansion, higher philosophies, right? Now, yellow is between green and orange. And yellow is a subtractive color, right? And Venus, that means can curse or can withhold. So if you're wondering why I don't look the way I do, or why I don't have the money that I want to have, it could be because that Venus is not allowing that expression to the fullest. Okay, that's something to think about. Uh, the curse of Venus. The curse of Venus can make your skin extremely coarse, your disposition extremely coarse and hard. People are like put off by you. That is the curse of Venus. The curse of Venus is even having to, have sex when you don't want to. There's a very interesting story about a Greek story about Pygmalion. Pygmalion was a sculptor in ancient Greece, and he went to the marketplace, and he was a very profoundly talented sculptor. And he went to the marketplace, and he saw that all these village girls with very coarse skin, very coarse hair, and very coarse disposition were being sold off as prostitutes. And he felt like, they were anything but Venusian. He felt extremely removed from the whole feminine principle. And he named it the curse of Venus. So he did not want to have anything to do with any real woman. Because, God knows she may be a prostitute, right? I mean, that's what he could have thought. The curse of Venus. And then he sculpts this magnificent sculpture, and he marries her, and he falls in love with his own creation. So in this story, we see the whole Venusian concept of falling in love with another, person with flesh and blood. It's in some way abhorrent to the person. And some, oh my God, yuck, I don't want to touch that person. Difficult Venus does not like to be touched. They have intimacy issues. So this is oftentimes labeled as the curse of Venus. When you fall so much in love with that perfection, that beauty that is so perfect, that you tend to disregard life around you. And I think that Pygmalion was actually cursed by Venus, not those women. For it's all right to fall in love. Of course, he fell in love so hard that ultimately the statue became a woman, because the gods blessed him. But that doesn't really happen, does it? So I feel that Pygmalion was cursed to remove himself from the depth of love and intimacy that he could feel, because he already labeled these women. So the curse of Venus is very true. Venus withholds, Venus can curse. Yellow is also acidic. When you have that lemon and you're like, ooh. You get on YouTube and you watch these videos of kids popping lemons in their mouth for the first time. And they're like all kinds of expression, like, yeah. One kid was like, nice. And I thought to myself, well balanced Venus, could it be? Right? So that's something. The curse of Venus, right? Venus and Mercury both can be jealous, can be harsh, can be acidic. Venus and Sun can hurt each other, and they are enemy planets in the Vedic system. So the Sun and Venus can definitely hurt each other. Especially if Sun and Venus are making aspects, it's very important to understand those in great depth. Rahu. Rahu, the colors of Rahu, swirling colors, right? And Rahu rules all kinds of smoky crystals like agate or hessonite, okay, even rhodochrosite. It's ruled by Rahu, swirling colors, okay. Now, Ketu's gemstone is the cat's eye. Ketu in the 12th house, I've had at least 3 to 4 clients. Married life has been hell for them. Ketu in the 12th can do that actually. We generally tend to think of Ketu as, sort of like spiritual. So 12th house is spiritual, and Ketu in the 12th house can be okay, but no. I have noticed that if you are in the samsara, if you are an ordinary person like me, kids, husband, work, Ketu in the 12th house can be really problematic, and a lot of people tend to get a divorce or even get hurt. Domestic violence, a lot of that is Ketu in the 12th. Okay? Rahu is very malefic in the 7th house. Divorces, lots of divorces. Rahu in the 7th house. Rahu in the first house also, and fourth house also. Ketu in the fourth house brings a complete different baggage of problems, of course. Now, Rahu and Ketu are both feminine, okay, as they rule crystals. Venus rules crystals, Moon rules crystals, Rahu and Ketu rule crystals. So, they're feminine, the nodes of the moon. You understand that, alright? If you don't know, crystals were the flesh of gods, okay? And gods essentially were crystal beings, right? Ketu connects us to the Godhead, to the divine power. So that's why I say that Ketu is a very spiritual influence indeed, because it connects us to Godhead. However, if you're trying to function normally, and operate in this physical world, it could be problematic. However, Ketu on the ascendant with the sun in Leo, I've seen some good things with that. Anyway, that's another discussion. But I mean, this is a topic that no one's really spoken about. How metals and colors and the interplay between them and the planets, so much to learn from this, and so much to meditate upon. I get all these psychic downloads where I see colors, and I see some kinds of crazy colors and crazy coloration, especially with the 17 days I have embarked on a very special sadhana. It's been crazy, really. Think of the feather of the peacock. All that spectrum. Whenever I see the peacock feather, I think of all the planets, for they all are reflected in that peacock. And that peacock is actually India's national bird. Peacocks were very, very, normal around before we had industrialization. They were everywhere in India. And if you look at that peacock feather, you will be able to see so many colors. All right, this is it. I'm done with this particular episode. As I said, today I'll be coming back repeatedly and making all these live shows. I've got a very interesting one on Saturn and Venus, but that'll be in an hour or so. And I also have a very special one on Uchishta Ganpati and his connection to the Pleiades or Kritika Nakshatra, where of course I will be telling you, because I want to bring this up because Ketu in the 12th, one of the remedies, astral remedies, is worship of Uchishta Ganpati and keeping a dancing form of Uchishta Ganpati on your bedside. So I'll get to that and many, many more videos on astral remedies of the Lal Kitab. Not too many experts exist on the Lal Kitab. And I may not be a scholar or, a PhD on the Lal Kitab, but I have a lot of experience and a lot of study and a lot of time that I devoted in understanding the intricacy of the Lal Kitab, which I will bring to you, and hopefully you'll enjoy. Thank you and speak soon.